This is one thing that you definitely want to know about before you book your trip. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be going over, is it really worth it to go to the Bahamas in 2021 and everything post-COVID, since a lot of travel restrictions are opening back up. If you're new here, my name is Valory. I am currently a college student with a big passion for travel, and that's exactly what we're gonna be talking about today. So this summer, I personally went to Exuma, which is a smaller island in the Bahamas, and it was a blast. Obviously, there are still COVID restrictions, like you have to get a COVID test and everything, and visas, but I will explain all of that in this video. Now, overall, is it really worth it? Yes, in my opinion, it is totally worth it to go to the Bahamas. I'm somebody located in the United States, so it's not too far of a flight for me to just hop on a plane and get to the Bahamas. Now, if you're someone who is coming from another country that's a little bit farther away, where you have to have a connecting flight into a different country to then go to the Bahamas, I'm not quite sure how that works, but from my personal experience, we had to get a visa before we left. It had to get approved. I think we came up with it about 2 weeks before the day that we left, so that should be enough time to get it approved. Your trip should be all good. Personally, I stayed right outside of Georgetown, which is one of the main cities on Big Exuma. Obviously, there's a lot of places that you can stay on the island, whether that's hotels, hostels, Airbnbs. That's personally what I stayed in. However, I will note that there's a big culture shock kind of going from somewhere where it's very industrialized to going onto an island where you might not find the same luxuries as you would at home. For example, there was probably only 1 or 2 grocery stores on the whole island, and then again, it was kind of slim pickings, and prices are very inflated as it would be on any other island. So just keep that in mind when you're coming over. I do recommend putting packaged food and everything in a whole suitcase and taking that along on your flight with you if possible, because it'll just cut down on costs when you get to the island. All right, guys, so I am just going to go through a list of things that I recommend to do while you're on the island and what makes it actually worth it and worth your time to go versus what is just simply a waste of time and overcrowded. So whenever someone normally goes to Exuma, you always see them posting on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever it might be about the swimming pigs. Now, is the swimming pigs worth the hype? Does it live up to what everybody is saying it does? Personally, I think it does. It gets quite crowded, but if you go earlier in the day or later in the evening before the sun goes down, there generally are less crowds because most of the boats come around midday. Now, I do recommend bringing some food. I personally got carrots to feed the pigs because they do get a little feisty, but as long as you have food for them and make sure you keep your fingers away from their mouths, you should be all right. Moving on, I also do recommend going to Allen's Cay and feeding these iguanas. Now, I swear, you guys, these are something out of like Jurassic Park. Like, these guys look crazy, but actually really cool at the same time. I feel like it's something that not many people bring up when they go to the Bahamas. It's not something it's exactly known for as much as the swimming pigs. Now, I still think it's really cool. There were tons of them on this small little island, just all running around. And yeah, guys, I would have to recommend this too. It's definitely something that's underrated. And I personally stayed in Hooper's Bay, and it was the time of year where the turtles would come into the beaches, and every morning I would go out and feed them little pieces of lettuce. So I would definitely recommend going to Hooper's Bay, and if it's the right time of the year, feeding the turtles. If they're not at Hooper's Bay, you can probably just Google what other beaches or areas if they're around, and try to plan your trip around the right time so that you can see them when you get to go. Now, out of everything in this trip that I did, I have to say hands down, my absolute favorite thing was feeding the turtles at Hooper's Bay. I just think it was a super fun experience. These guys are literally so massive, and they're very calm, and they just come and glide up through the water, and 10 out of 10 would recommend doing that. All right, next we'll move more so into locations. So obviously the Bahamas is known for having some of the best beaches in the world. Now, obviously I went to a ton of beaches, but two that I would have to recommend is Coco Plum Beach and Hooper's Bay, which is like more so a bay and less of a beach, but that's also where the turtles come up. So definitely keep your eye open for that. I'm not even kidding you guys. The beaches there are like bright white almost. And the water is like crystal clear, and on a good day, you can see like so far away. It's so tropical. You're gonna have so much fun. Another place I would recommend going is Compass Bay, which is where you can swim with some of the Nerf sharks. Now, if you're more of an adventurous person, I would definitely recommend, but if this isn't your thing, you can just go on right to the next one. But the sharks there are very tame. You definitely get food from the people who own the little like huts around it, or I personally did from the boat tour that I went on. But you get food to go and feed the sharks, and they just swim all around you, and it's a little nerve-wracking. At least it was for me. But it's definitely for someone who is a thrill seeker, and it was a lot of fun. Another place I recommend going to is Chat and Chill. Now, this is a little restaurant / gift shop that's nearby Stocking Island, but it can only really be reached by boat. Now, they have some apparel there and a little gift shop, and they also have more so of a food portion. But when I went, there was a small little vendor out on the beach that sold conch salad. And if you didn't know this already, the Bahamas, or specifically Exuma, is known for their conch. And going more so to conch, I definitely recommend getting some sort of dish, whether it's conch fritters, conch salad. They have a ton of local food to try out, and I would definitely recommend. And it's just a super nice palate cleanser. Also, I would recommend definitely checking the weather before you go, because unfortunately when I went, it rained, like torrential downpour rain, and we got stuck on the island for a bit. So just make sure that you check the weather forecast before you do any outdoorsy activities. So another place is definitely more north of all the rest that we've been talking about. It's called Thunderball Grotto. And now what this grotto is, it's a like stone structure where you can actually swim in underneath, and there's large stone structures above you, and there's a small hole in the ceiling that has light leaking through. Now this is a great place for photos if you have a GoPro or some sort of underwater camera, but it definitely is really cool, and you can hear the waves and the water rushing through the grotto. And this Thunderball Grotto is definitely more of a snorkeling spot rather than a swimming spot. So just make sure to bring any specific gear or anything that you need if you're going to go there. Another little food place on the island that I recommend is Mum's Rum Cake. Well, it's more so called Mum's, but definitely get their rum cake there, you guys. It is very good. That's like what this little like mom and pop shop is known for. So what this visa is you just input some information about your trip, like when you're coming, when you're going home or going back to wherever you're going, if it's a one-way trip, if you're there for business, and then you have to pay a small fee. And then this will happen about 2 weeks before the day you leave for your trip. It'll get processed, and in my case, it was approved in like 2 days. Personally, I am vaccinated, so this is only applying to vaccinated people. but I did not have to personally get a COVID test going into the country. But when I was coming back to the United States before I left, I did have to get a COVID test coming back into my home country. Again, just make sure that you have the standard international travel passports from whatever your country is. Just make sure it's in date. Make sure you have all your tickets and everything all together before you leave, just because you don't want it to get lost going from one place to the next. Even though wearing a mask and having to take a COVID test isn't really ideal, that's just the reality of living in a global pandemic in 2021. And as always, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down at the bottom, and make sure to leave a like so I can make more videos like this. For any of you guys who have visited the Bahamas before, what was your favorite thing to do when you got there? See you guys in the next one.